Good morning, it's Monday, August 19th, and I have been around for a good many years, but our civilization has been around for thousands of years. And every now and then I find something out that happened not a century ago, not 2 centuries ago, but how about 40 centuries ago? Now, there were tablets that were created in Babylonia 4,000 years ago. And these tablets seem to indicate, by some mystical formula, that a king will die and a nation will fall. Those are the omens that were revealed by these tablets. And one of the natural events that occurs in our universe is the lunar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse by the ancients was seen as dark omen. Omens like the death of a king or the destruction of some unit of civilization. So what we have going on right now is a group of researchers who have managed to decipher 4 tablets that are over 4,000 years old, that are Babylonian cuneiform tablets that predict future disasters based upon the lunar eclipses. It's the world's oldest drawing of a ghost. Imagine that, a tablet that represented the image of a ghost. And this tablet is approximately 3,500 years old. And it presents a male ghost with his hands tied by a rope that is being led by a woman. Now, I would find that hard to believe when I've always thought that women were subjects of a secondary situation, that they would not be required to do any leadership role. But in this tablet, this woman is leading the male prisoner by a rope. And according to the script associated with this tablet, the male who was bound and led by the female, as it turns out, the female is supposedly his lover. Now, these tablets were found over 100 years ago in Iraq. And they are some of the oldest known descriptions of omens tied to lunar eclipses. So in this ancient world, a lunar eclipse was a dark omen, and it came with great foreboding images, because in that universe, science was far, far behind. There was much in that world that could not be logically defined. And so mystical solutions were the order of the day. So I'm sure that looking at this situation 4,000 years ago, a lunar eclipse would be considered a dark omen, a foreboding premonition of things to come. Now, lunar eclipses are an astronomical phenomenon which occurs when the moon is darkened in the sky, covered in darkness created by the Earth's shadow. This is caused when the Earth is in a very precise location, stuck between the moon and the sun. And this only happens when the moon is full. So if you have a half moon, this phenomenon, this lunar eclipse, cannot occur. So back in the days that we are discussing right now, celestial bodies were a constant feature of life everywhere in the world. And it made perfectly good sense that these civilizations, without any great scientific knowledge, would take a look at what was going on in the stars and everything, and recognizing the effects of eclipses would be a mystical premonition to them of life on Earth and how life on Earth might change because of the images that they see in the overnight skies. So the ancient Babylonians were no exception. They were not ahead of their times. They were just representative of what the world was like 4,000 years ago. And the early people who got involved in the field of astronomy, which in those days was considered astrology, the Babylonians took great significance in the behavior of the moon. The moon and the stars could hold signs about the will and the wishes of the god. And they put together a series of events that were able to tell the future in the minds of these ancient civilizations, like the Babylonians. The lunar eclipse was viewed as a very dark omen that would bring about some catastrophic, like the death of a king, for instance. So the Babylonians developed a method of calculating the occurrences of eclipse. And this was called the sorrow cycle, which covered a period of 223 lunar months. And it was able to determine when the eclipses would occur. So then the Babylonians would be ready to celebrate the good and the evil of an eclipse. Essentially, the Babylonian astrologers consulted their sources to interpret the time and location of the eclipse. And this included other astronomical observation and the collection of celestial omens, whatever that means, which are a way of identifying and establishing the tradition of these eclipse omens. And they go back many, many centuries, as far as the scholars are aware. The oldest ones are the collection of the 4 tablets in the British Museum. And after years, 2 academics were finally able to translate those tablets and take a look at what the omens mean. So there are great things going on in this world relating to the history of the civilizations that existed. And we don't get enough information about those civilizations. But this is an eye-opening experience, figuring out what people 4,000 years ago were confronted with. And so I think we should all pay more attention to the history of the world than we do, because I'm sure that the Babylonians were not very comfortable in their lives at all times. So I'll leave you with that this morning. Ancient history that has a meaning. Have a great day. Bye.